The Triple Crown News Minute for March 28th is presented by Kentucky Equine Research. Coming up, find out more about their new facility for studying racehorse nutrition. All right, Ray, we've got two big Kentucky Derby preps this weekend, both worth 100 points, 40 to second, 20 to third, 10 to fourth. So we're in the meat of it here. One of them is the Florida Derby, of course, historically been very relevant for the Kentucky Derby. We'll talk more about that tomorrow, specifics. But then there's the UAE Derby. Historically, it has not been very relevant. In fact, the last two winners, even impressive Mendelssohn winning by 18.5 last year, and Thunder Snow the year before, both finished dead last in the Kentucky Derby. What hope is there that this race will produce a real contender this year?
Well, if you believe in miracles, I suppose the horse could come out of this race and make a good account of himself in the Kentucky Derby. There are 3 American horses here. Brendan Walsh has one, Doug O'Neill has one, and Peter Miller has one. None of those 3 horses, with the exception of Brendan Walsh's Plus K Parfait, who finished a good second last fall in the Kentucky Jockey Club Stakes at Churchill Downs. None of those 3 have really done anything to write home about in graded stakes company other than that horse. And there's a Japanese horse in here, Dermalouve, who apparently will go in the Kentucky Derby if he runs well. So there's some interest. I don't see in this field of 14 a horse that will be among the top 10 betting choices.
Yeah, and let's not forget that the favorite in this race this year is a filly. And she's a Godolphin filly, and there are 3 other fillies who are long shots in this race, in this field of 14. So you have 4 out of 14 are fillies, which is unusual. I can't remember it being that way previously. And so you don't think they probably would come over, although, Godolphin has a nice filly like that, maybe they would. Maybe the history of this is that the reason the points are so great is because of Godolphin's influence in the racing business, and they've tried in the past to win the Kentucky Derby unsuccessfully. I can't say I understand why it's still a 100-point race, especially when you look at this year's field.
Yeah, this is just based on the 3 American horses. This is. Don't forget, it's a $2.5 million purse too, and I guess if you have a 3-year-old and they're willing to pay the freight to ship the horse over, the organizers of the race are, why not? It may take a little bit out of a horse to ship way over there and come back, but it's $2.5 million. So sometimes you got to take a chance.
Well, in fact, the Japanese colt that's in this race is skipping a race for the Kentucky Derby that's in Japan. There's a 40-point race in Japan this weekend on Sunday that he could have gone in. He's choosing the UAE Derby, and I'm guessing his connections are doing that because of the purse. But he's one of the only ones I've heard of that might actually come over from Japan. So maybe that part of the road to the Kentucky Derby needs a little tweaking, because if you're going to have it, we'd love to have the horses come over. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Triple Crown News Minute, presented by Kentucky Equine Research. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
The Kentucky Equine Research Performance Center is a new facility for KER located in Ocala, Florida. Most of the research that we've done in the past with exercise has been on high-speed treadmills, which really gives you fairly intense exercise, but you can't mimic racing. There's only one way that you can mimic racing, and that's with a racetrack, so it puts us in a whole different realm in terms of being able to measure horses under racing conditions. We've been interested in all types of performance horses for all 30 years. Recently, though, we've become more focused on thoroughbred racehorses. We think that's a real growth industry. There's some interesting things we can do nutritionally. And as we got into that, we discovered that to study racehorses, you need racehorses. That's truly what KER is about, and that is testing our products, doing research, and then applying that research in the real world.